with our man James Ham, who will be with Kyle Matson all next week on the non-holiday days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So make sure you tap in. You won't miss a single second of Kings coverage here on ESPN 1320. And obviously, James, part of the conversation will start tonight. It's the first night of a back-to-back, which I don't think really concerns too many Kings fans. It's always the second night of a back-to-back that they talk about. But it's a really difficult first night matchup, and it's the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns aren't playing well. Casey, you said, I can't remember the number. They've lost
7 of 10.
7 of 10, which I did not know. That's wild to me. They're a game below 500, but
they're a game above.
Above 500. Sorry. A game above 500. But Kevin Durant's there, and Devin Booker is there. And that's all you really need to know.
Yep.
I think the Sacramento, I don't like this Phoenix Suns team, but I really, really like those two. And I think when both of those guys are on the floor, all bets are off.
Yeah, I would point out one of their wins is against the Washington Wizards, and another is against the Memphis Grizzlies. But
Grizzlies won 2 straight.
But pre-Ja Morant Grizzlies.
Okay, well, that's different. That's definitely different.
And they beat the Warriors.
Go ahead. I know what you were going to say. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the Grizzlies beat the Pacers.
They did. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of easy work right now.
Pacers 1-4, right? I think the Pacers and the Lakers. Are you okay over there?
You guys fed me. I'm fine as far as but
James, you want some more 100 proof?
I'm a little tired. That was my concern. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, come on, James. Get
glass of wine, big lunch, and Bennett's, and then come back and.
Well, you do drink like 9 cups of tea when you're at the game, don't you?
Yeah, I typically. Well, I might have a cup of hot apple cider now.
Oh, okay.
And then probably 2 teas.
Okay, 2 teas.
2 hot teas.
2 teas.
I'll be fine.
The Lakers and the Pacers. I think the number is 1-4.
Sounds about
since
right.
Since the in-season tournament finale.
Oh,
well, curse of the tournament ?
There it is.
There it is.
There you have it.
You don't want to make the tournament.
Well, that'll be the new thing. Don't want to make the tournament. So the Phoenix Suns aren't playing great. The Kings, in my opinion, have done a great job responding after games like the Celtics game.
Mm-hmm.
Houston Rockets notwithstanding, as they just came out and got their ass beat by the Houston Rockets the second time.
And
when
Pelicans too.
Well, when they lost to the Pelicans, though,
it was better the second time.
But they came back and beat Denver after the second Pelicans lost. And that was kind of after the second Pelicans lost, it was like, what the hell is going on here? Or actually, it might have been the in-season tournament loss that they came back and beat Denver the next time.
They did.
It might have been that one.
Well, they got Phoenix.
They've lost to Denver a lot. I'm trying to keep track.
I
mean, not Denver. They've lost to New Orleans a lot.
No, they beat the Warriors. They got beat up by the Clippers and then came back and beat Denver.
Yeah, so it was actually they lost 2 to the Pelicans. They beat the Timberwolves. And then beat Denver when they lost to the Pelicans the third time.
They beat the Suns.
No
KD, no Book.
No KD. Yeah.
They've had good responses. I'd also point out that De'Aaron Fox, after every game that he scored 14, I think the lowest he scored afterwards is 26. So he had a bad first game where he got 18 or 19, came back with 39. He scored 14, came back with 36, scored 14 against one other team, came back and dropped in 41 or something. His bounce back games have been substantial, so I would expect him to have a big night. I'd also point out that that Phoenix is shorthanded again tonight. So
Reese told us.
Yeah, they are always shorthanded, but I think they are the shorthanded Phoenix Suns. Bradley Beal, of course, is out, but Nasir Little is out. Well, no, Nasir Little is available. Yusuf Nurkic is out, and Josh Okogie is questionable. That Nurkic deal, and the same with Okogie.
I was going to say, I kind of feel like the Okogie one is a big deal.
Yeah, but they don't have anyone else that can go out Sabonis. So that's rough. They're going to throw some guys at. I mean, Shemezi Metu might have to play substantial minutes against Sabonis. Drew Eubanks will have to play minutes against Sabonis.
Drew Eubanks actually isn't bad.
I've never felt that way, but you can feel that way.
You don't think Drew Eubanks is good?
Not really.
I mean,
like,
if you're asking
he's
him
fine.
to like play 35 against Sabonis, like, yeah, that's an issue. But in the role that he was supposed to be in, coming off the bench, he gave you 15 solid minutes.
He is shooting 1,000%.
Well, he played 16 minutes the last time these two teams played. Scored
Yeah.
8 points.
Yeah, he's shooting
9 points?
100% from 3 this season. I mean, that's
One of
something.
one?
Did you say 100%?
Yeah, 100% from 3.
One of one?
Oh, that's
2 of 2 actually.
get him in the
Two.
3-point contest then.
Yeah.
Best shooting big man of all time, Drew Eubanks.
Well, there it is.
Yeah, yeah. So no, I don't think that they have the depth to manage some of the keys for the Kings.
Oh, they absolutely don't. I
Yeah.
don't like this basketball team. I don't
Yeah.
like the way they're constructed.
I
But
would
I
also,
like KD.
yeah, I like KD too, but
I like KD and Book.
you need to run these dudes. That's
Yo.
they don't like to run. They're 26 in pace.
Mm.
They're on top of that, they don't like to take a lot of threes. And they aren't particularly great at them. So they're 24th in 3-point attempts. They're 15th in 3-point percentage. But that 24th in makes, play a little zone, like mix it up, like give them something to look at, and force them. If they're gonna beat you from the outside, it's not fine, but you can make an adjustment if they prove they can. But if it's not Booker and it's not KD, I don't know who else is going to score on this team.
Yeah.
It gets a little rough. And, historically, the Kings have really struggled with Eric Gordon. I'm not sure why, but like Eric Gordon throughout his career has been like he's just one of those dudes. But again, run him. Like he's a 35-year-old Eric Gordon now. He's a big dude. Just go at him, like put pressure on him. Have Kevin Huerter like do the marathon thing where he just runs and runs and runs, and see if Eric Gordon just gives up at some point, because he probably will. Yeah, that's what I would do. Just like put the pressure on this team. You already beat him once. You have confidence you can beat him. It shouldn't be that. I mean, this is a tough game. Every game is a tough game, but you need to bounce back. You can't go 0-3 to finish this homestand. That would be a bad look.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I look at these next 2 games, and in the grand scheme of things, when you talk about this road trip, like you just mentioned, find a way to get one of these, and then you can come out of this saying 6-game road trip or 6-game homestand. You go 4-2. That's more than acceptable. That's good stuff. Even aside from how things played out on Wednesday night, you come away with that. I think you can sleep good at night. Now, one of the things you talked about with running them, I agree. What I also want to see is, like, don't get beat in fast break points or open transition buckets when you're not even turning the ball over, like happened on Wednesday. Wednesday, they had 7 turnovers. They got outscored 30 to something in transition bucket. I mean, that's just lazy. That's just not working hard.
No, that's an embarrassment. Like, not to, like, you can't not, call it what it is.
Oh, 30-6.
Yeah, but the 30 is the biggest problem.
Yeah.
Not getting out in transition is one thing, but you didn't turn the ball over. And I mean, I know the live ball turnover, we saw it. I think Sabonis had one right in the beginning of the third. Fox had one too, but I think that one went out of bounds. The problem is first of all, you got dominated on the glass, but there were so many opportunities for the Kings just to get back. Just get back and play defense. That's it. Like, don't make it just a layup line for the other team. And I think that would be like one of the most discouraging things if you're Mike Brown. Not only did you, like we talked about it the other day, like when this team misses free throws, it's a problem. You can tell that there's a lack of focus. But when you're giving up those types of numbers, or even the rebound numbers, those are a lack of focus. Like something is shut off in a team when that happens. And you got to figure out what it is with this team that all of a sudden some magic switch happens and they're just done for a ball game. And you're like, I don't know what just happened. They've come back in a game or two this season, but the predominant message that I keep seeing, is that when they're down, it's pretty much over. Like when they let guys get up 18, 20, like, first of all, you shouldn't allow that. But secondly, they're pretty much cooked, and you see this team just kind of go, okay, on to the next one.
Real quick, I wanted to ask Ham this because I'm interested in his take. What did you think about the press conference on Wednesday? Mike Brown. Was it par for the course, or was it a little?
Oh, no.
Did it have different energy?
No, it had different energy. Yeah, I think.
What's the energy that you took out of it?
Okay, so I mean, we've talked about this a little bit, but the Kings, for whatever reason, like I haven't asked, but the fact that they sent Keon Ellis out after they just an ass kicking, a two-way player who played hard.
James Ham said after you got smoked. That's what he said.
I did say that, didn't I?
Yeah.
You. I think I said a handful of games this year. You guys have got smoked. Like that's like Keon Ellis can come out and talk, and that's fine. But Keon Ellis shouldn't be the one answering the tough questions. That's reserved for your stars, and that's reserved for your veterans who have been there. And to not be able to get one of those guys to come out to the podium, that was, I mean, it's just not okay. I mean, again, Keon Ellis shouldn't be answering those questions. That guy played hard. There was nothing wrong with his night. He hit 4 threes. He played defense. And so, I mean, that's something that like they need to think long and hard about. That's just not the way to represent, because it's not, I don't know if it's mandatory or not, but after in a post game, every other game this season, we get 2 players and then Mike Brown. So I bring all of this up because Mike Brown usually has like another 15 or 20 minutes to prepare, because we're sitting there waiting for the next player. And then after that player's done, then Mike Brown comes down the hallway maybe 3 or 4 minutes later. So you take away that buffer, and I thought Mike came in and maybe didn't have a formulated game plan for what he was going to say in post game. And that happens, but again,
basically what he said is we got our ass kicked, including me.
Yeah, no, I think he took it the right way. He talked about it. But like at the end of the day, like we just can't keep hearing that same thing. Like it can't happen once every 3 or 4 games where you just get thumped. I mean, 7 of their 10 games this season, they haven't been competitive. 7 of their 10 losses. And that's just weird. Like the feel in those games is off. It's weird. It doesn't make sense. And you walk away from the game saying, I would like to tell you why they lost, but I can't really put it into other than the fact that they didn't play defense. But you start looking at these focus points, and the focus points are going to be rebounding. It's going to be made free throws. It's going to be transition buckets for the opposition. Those are things where you can point to and say, okay, they really just didn't have it.
That simple.
Yeah, like they came in, they weren't prepared.
Because the fact is, to play into what you just said a minute ago, if it's that simple, they're not having it a lot.
Yeah,
you said 7 of 10. Those
more
are
than we would like.
Right. I mean, 7 of the 10 losses have been double-digit losses.
Yes.
4, I think, have been by 20-plus points.
Yeah, but there's like an 18 and a 19 or something in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I'm not used to – I think it's that you always expect some sort of carryover from one season to the next. And the thing about the 2022-23 Sacramento Kings is they were so resilient. Like, every single game, you saw it. They fought all the way to the end. Even if they didn't have it, they still kept themselves in a game. And they even stole probably 3 or 4 games last year that they had no business winning at all, just by playing hard all the way through the whistle. That's not who this team is right now. It's just not. Either they blow someone out or they get blown out. And there's very few middle ground games. There's some games where you win by 8 or something. You got the one game against Golden State where they came back and won by 1 or whatever. But outside of that,
24 in that one,
there aren't a lot of those games. Like the predominant like theme is that either they show up or they don't. And I don't like that. To me, that there's something going on there that doesn't make sense.
And they got to figure out what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
Whether it's Mike or it's De'Aaron or it's the group collectively as players, it's Domas, whatever. Someone got a message like, this isn't, I don't think, a unique statement or conversation talking point, but fans think the team has regressed from last year, despite the fact they're at a greater win percentage than they were last year at this time. It speaks to what, James, you were saying a second ago. It feels different. The losses feel different. The 20-point losses this year, 20 some odd games into the season, are exactly what they were last year through 82 games of the season. That's why it feels different. But in the end, what does it actually mean? If they're winning at a greater clip than they were last year, they're losing at a lesser clip, they're just losing by more, the hell does that actually mean?
No, it's a really good question. Like I don't know at the end. It's like this weird anomaly. Like you watch them play and you're not sure who's going to show up.
And we looked at like other teams kind of in their tier and above. There wasn't another team in the league that had lost
like that.
Yeah, not one.
Yeah. I mean, it's why this team is like they just slid down to like number 22 in defensive rating. And
in one game.
And in most seasons, in most of the season, they've been right around like 14 in offense, 14, 15 offensive rating, 15, 16, 17 in defensive rating. They're almost like an even Steven team, but an even Steven team where there aren't close games. So it doesn't feel like they're an even Steven team. So you beat somebody by 20, then you lose to somebody by 20. So those really there is no rhyme or reason for what's happening. And I've yet to see like Mike Brown use the he told us that he thought that the common theme was that when they start complaining about the officials and they start asking for calls and they start, getting in trouble with the officials, they get distracted, the other team sees it and the other team punches them in the face and they don't get back up. And like I'm confused by that because but I also see it. Like we saw what to me was a horrendous call. The flagrant foul on Sabonis to me was just garbage. Sabonis had already planted. He didn't slide under a dude. The fact that guy jumped towards them and, like flipped his feet out to the side and landed on Sabonis's foot. Like, sorry, you rolled your ankle there, but that's not a flagrant foul. That's not the idea behind the flagrant foul is for a dangerous play where you run out and you slide under a player and give him no place to land. Sabonis is standing there and the guy comes down on his foot. We can't call a foul every time somebody comes down on somebody else's foot. That's not the rule. That's not the way it's supposed to be interpreted. But I do agree that the second that happened, you just saw this team like, oh, we're done. And it was like, whoa. So he hits a shot, they get the free throw, and then they get the ball back. And then I think they fouled again and had 3 free throws. And it was like a 6-0 run. And then the Kings turned the ball over twice. And then Mike Brown pulls Kevin Huerter and Harrison Barnes, who didn't turn the ball over. That was not their turnovers. That was Fox and Sabonis. And the whole thing spins out so quickly. You're like, what in the world just happened? Like, you guys were in it. You got angry at the officials within like a minute of the third quarter starting. Game over. Like, all right, next one. Really strange.
Yeah. Do you feel like this team can kick out of this? Do you think that this is who they are and this is the story of the 2023-2024 Kings is good team, just not consistent enough? Or do you think it's some form of weird growing pains that they'll kick out of by about February? Because I think they will be a more consistent team around February. They won't be the same team that we're looking at right now.
Yeah, I wish I had an answer. Like, in all honesty, this could just be a blip. They could never have another game like that again. Because that's what it looks like on the court. Like, it almost looks like something goes haywire and it's over. And then we're forced to watch the rest of it.
No.
Like, oh, look at that. We got another 20 minutes to go and this thing is cooked. Like, that's not fun. But that's what it kind of feels like. So there's no rhyme or reason to what's happening. And, we're like 6 or 7 games into this trend over, a 6-week period. The first time it happens, you're like, oh, that wasn't good. And then they lose back to back to Houston. You're like, oh, neither one of those were, I don't know what happened there. Let's just write that off as an anomaly. And then it happens in New Orleans the first time. And you're like, okay, that looks really similar to the other game that we saw. Like, that's weird. And now we've started to accumulate these games where we're starting to have more of a track record for something that we're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
But again, they're 16-10. 16-10, say somehow you split this right here. You go 17-11. You got 3 games you can win on the road in Portland, Atlanta, Memphis. Then you start playing some bad teams. So this team could easily be 8 to 10 games over 500 in like 3 weeks. And we're super concerned about what's happening within these games, but it could not matter. Like, they could continue this trend all year. They could win game 1 of a playoff series, get clubbed in game 2, come back and win 3 and 4, get clubbed in game 5, and win in game 6.
Right.
Like, who knows? I mean, it's just kind of like this weirdness to the
Well,
team.
as long as they win game 6 of the NBA finals, I
guess you
whatever.
just keep doing it all the way through. Like,
it's going to be the first NBA champion with a 0.0 point differential.
And we're all going to be sitting here like, man, all these opportunities for Davion Mitchell to steal his job back, and he still hasn't done it.
I can't wait for Hollinger's column about the fraudulent NBA champions.
Yes. Yeah.
0.0 point differential.
Yeah.
Sorry, James. That's the tough thing about those Celtics games, or games like the Celtics one, like Pelicans, Rockets. There's nothing to, like, what do you do with it?
Right.
Yeah.
Especially when their record is what it is.
Yeah. Like, how do I?
Like, all right, there's 7 games over 500. They just got beat by 30. Like, I don't even know what
and even in a more micro look, like, how do I evaluate what Herter did when De'Aaron didn't play well?
Yeah.
Or how do I evaluate what, Harrison did when Malik didn't play well?
Yeah.
It's just a hard game to walk away with. I'm kind of I know this is what he says publicly. I do believe this is what he does in real life, though I think there's obviously a great discussion amongst the team and coaches following the game. But De'Aaron, well, we lost. Go home, put it out of my head. Don't think about it. Come in, we'll watch tape, we'll practice, and we'll be better the next time we play.
Yeah, be a goldfish.
It's so simple, and I genuinely believe that's how he operates. And because that's how he operates, I think that's how a lot of the team operates.
No, it's how you have to be, though. Like, it's be a goldfish. Like, just forget what just happened and move on to the next stage. They've got, no short-term memory at all. So you just hey, you can't have a short-term memory. You just got to hey, I don't care what just happened. We got to go back out and do something different the next time. And that's kind of the weird trend where, again, how do you judge? I think the thing is, all we can do is overreact when this happens.
Right.
Because that's the way the game feels. Like, it feels like you need to overreact because it was so egregious. Yeah. What happened? It was so bad. And you're like, I don't know how else to handle this but to say, what is wrong? Yeah. What is wrong with you? And I don't know. We'll keep asking the same tough question because it feels like this isn't the last time it's going to happen. But what do you do? Do I just keep adding the number? So, Mike, this is the 11th time out of the 14 games that you guys have lost where you literally got stomped on and it looked ugly. What do you think?
To your
I got my butt kicked.
To your point, James, we're probably going to beat the hell out of the Suns and the Timberwolves in these next 2 games, and probably win the Atlanta game. We'll be like, everything's good, and then
Memphis with Jaws going to punk you.
Right? We'll be like, damn, what do we do now? It's a cycle that they've gone through about 3 times this year, and we're just waiting for the cycle to end in a good way, right? We don't want it to end where they just start losing games, but be more consistent. And I think the biggest thing about it is the way they lost. Losing to Boston is not anything to be ashamed of or ring the alarm about.
No, if they lose by 11 to Boston, we're not having this discussion. We're giving hey, that's a really good team over there. It doesn't matter if Jason Tatum's playing or not.
Right.
It's a really good team, but they had 5 guys score over 20, including Peyton Pritchard, who didn't have to take a shot from anywhere but one spot on the floor.
He scored 90 in a what?
Summer league game.
Was it summer? It wasn't summer league.
Yeah.
Was it a Drew League?
Yeah, not NBA summer league. Yeah. It was a Seattle summer league.
Okay. All right.
I'm still waiting for somebody to
bucket
show, though. It was the same shot again and again and again. You're like, wow, there's not an adjustment being made at all.
What did Mike say? We ran the same play 7 minutes in a row. That's what Boston was saying. We were just kept giving the ball to Peyton Pritchard in the same spot.
Why not? Yeah.
I think is the number one thing they got to figure out, Mike has to figure out, the team has to figure out, is where does it start? Because I think the biggest concern about this team losing games in that manner is the fact that that's not a De'Aaron Fox issue. That's not a Domantas Sabonis issue. That's not a singular player issue. It's something goes wrong. It's forgive the use of this term, but it's like a pandemic that hits the team, and they're all stricken by it. And it happens to everyone in a Kings uniform. It's like, how does that happen? There's no player who can step on the floor and elevate them. And it's not that they can't. De'Aaron can. We've seen it. He can't that night. Malik can. We've seen it. He can't that night. It's like they all can't at the same time.
It's crazy, right?
But it has to start somewhere, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like follow the leader. Like, and I guess, but I also
De'Aaron had 29 in a quarter or whatever it was.
I think he had a 40-point game in a game where it was just not competitive at all.
I think it was the first Clippers game. He had 40.
I'd also say,
at
like,
home.
I just quick math here. They have 8 games this season where they've won by more than double digits, where they've won by well over 10. So again, it's not just that they're losing that way; it's that they're winning that way as well. And it's funny, in a way. It kind of reminds me of the San Francisco 49ers season, where they just mopped the floor with so many people. But then we hit this like 3-game stretch where it's like, holy cow, they forgot how to play football. They just went out there on the field for 3 games in a row. And I know, like, we can say they could have won the Browns game if Moody hits a field goal. That doesn't change the fact that they look like they didn't know how to play football for the entire game. They're so good that they can't lose by more. But then we get to the next game. And again, the Vikings, I think they could have won if they had like a couple of things go the right way towards the end. But you're just like, it doesn't matter if you could have won. You look like you were going to lose that game the entire time. And that's why I think the weird thing is about this season, where you never feel like they're going to lose a game when they're winning. And you never feel like they're going to come back and win a game when they're losing. And then, like, how many games this season do we already have it where they've wire to wire beat somebody? I think it's like 7.
That's quite a few.
6, 7. It's
few.
wild where they have a team that has never led an entire game, and just like it's non-competitive. So I don't know. Maybe that's part of it, where like you just get lulled into this thing where one team is going to show up and punch the other team tonight, and you don't know which one it is. More often than not, it's the Kings who are the ones who are punching, because that's why they have 16 wins and only 10 losses. But then there are these other games where you're just left really frustrated and questioning like the whole entire makeup of everything. And it, like, the games they lose, it always feels like they're revealing the issue that the Kings have. Like, again, Kevin O'Connor, we can discuss all as much as we want, like how frustrating it is to see somebody who only jumps on the Kings when things are going bad.
He sucks.
Yeah. But at the same time, what he said wasn't all that different than what we've said. They don't have the size.
I don't want to hear it from him, James.
I get it.
And also that jackass Kevin O'Connor, the thing about him is it always has a Sabonis slant. He's not saying that as a basketball observer. He's saying that to slant to take a slight at Sabonis. And that's ridiculous.
Sabonis's wife maybe Kevin O'Connell had a crush on her or something. Because like that dude talks with venom towards Domantas Sabonis. Like, he snatched his girl from him.
That when it comes to Sabonis, it always feels
Kevin
like
O'Connelly?
Kevin
O'Connell.
Oh, it always feels like with Kevin that he had a take about Sabonis at some point. Fans didn't like his take and went at him. And now every time he can point out something that Sabonis does wrong, he takes the opportunity to troll. That's what it feels like. And I don't know why he does that, but it's, as a writer, slightly immature what he's doing. It's like, as a sports columnist or whatever he is for the Ringer, like, it has like a certain immaturity to it. And we can talk about like the Stephen Rees stuff where we just think it's the biggest joke with
Brock Purdy
with
stuff.
regards to Brock Purdy,
Mhm.
right? It doesn't make any sense. But at some point, we all have to realize that's why he's doing it.
Mhm.
He's doing it so we keep coming back and looking at his page and yelling and screaming. And it's the same with Kevin. Like he's a nice guy. I've met him quite a few times. Like I think he's a nice guy. I don't know why he's chosen this hill to climb to die on, but it's multiple. There are other writers who have done the same thing. And I hate like if you're wrong about somebody, say you're wrong. That's fine.
Oh, can't do that, James.
Well, I mean,
See,
like
that's the difference, James. That's what a journalist would do.
well, yeah, but like, okay, so in the chat right now, Drew Down is here,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
Drew Down like got pissed at me because he thought I was taking a shot at him.
Well,
But realistically, what I was telling him
yeah,
is
you
during
were.
the preseason,
Yep.
that what Jonathan Kuminga was not repeatable. He was not going to average 26 points a game
Mhm.
and a bunch of rebounds
Mhm.
playing that style with the Golden State Warriors. Now, look, he can be a part of the rotation and he can be a valuable part of what they're doing. But what he can't be is what we saw in preseason. And it's not because he doesn't have the talent. It's because that's not Warriors basketball.
It's because they need
And
to dump you know who.
That was my
Wow.
point. Well,
He's
I mean,
played
but
really well with you know who gone.
yeah.
A lot of them have.
Well, weird. Wait, are you saying? No, that's
Well,
wow.
just saying.
I'll turn into Kevin
Yeah.
O'Connell on that one.
Because I heard I heard they wouldn't have any championships without
Yeah.
him.
Mm.
So anyway, my point is that like, look, if I'm wrong about Kuminga and he becomes an all-star, okay, playing that style, being that guy, and I think that there's a good chance that he goes somewhere else that doesn't play the Warrior style of basketball and finds great success. Because I mean, like, look, this is a top 10 pick. He's what, the 6th pick, 7th pick in the draft. Like he's a very talented
good.
young player. I think
Yeah.
he's good too, but the style of play and the way he goes about his business in preseason is not something was going to be repeatable at the next level. And that's why I almost feel like the Warriors did him a disservice and set him up for failure because there's no way he could live up to that in the regular season. Now everyone's like, hey, man, how come you were able to do that? It's like, because I'm playing against like dudes who aren't even in the G League. That's who I'm playing against. So again, I think he's a reasonable player. But if he becomes an all-star for them, I'm willing to admit I'm wrong. Hey, I was wrong. You know, there have been plenty of players I thought would be really good.
But that's the difference between you, who I think you pride yourself as a journalist, and those other guys who just write and want to be social media relevant. That's the difference.
Social media attention.
I
Like
don't
that-
troll either. I try not to. Like it
No,
was
you
a
don't
weird
troll at all.
discussion. It was a weird discussion we got into, and it kind of got out of hand. But again, I don't have any love lost for. I mean, there's no problem with me and Drew Down. Like,
well, no, I don't
just
think
saying.
well, even with that, the Kuminga take isn't crazy.
Oh.
It's simply because the minutes weren't going to be there. What we're seeing right now is they are, because you know who can't stay on the floor, and he's a big part of why they beat the Celtics the other night.
I'm sorry, but to your point, your Kuminga take, like there's it makes sense. Just like O'Collins, Sabon or King's take makes sense, but you're not doing it out of slight of Kuminga. You're just looking at the team and being like, that's not going to work.
Yeah,
He's saying that to slight Sabonis.
Yeah.
Like he's made his stance perfectly clear.
Yep.
His buddy made his stance perfectly clear.
Yep.
How he feels about Sabonis.
Yep.
Everything. So because of that, and this is the bet that he made, so he's gonna have to lay in it. When you have something to say, that's how I'm gonna look at it. It's a slight. It's Sabonis. You've made yourself perfectly clear that he's the guy that needs to move on.
Yeah.
So don't be like, well, they need to get bigger, and I'm just talking about the Kings in general. No, you're talking about Sabonis.
Yeah. And again, like with Kuminga, he was never going to get to dribble the ball like 15 times on a possession. And that's what he was doing in preseason. It's like, that's not how they play. With Sabonis, like, the thing I would point out is that Kevin O'Connor is in the minority with national writers. Because we know this because Sabonis finished 6th, I think it was, in MVP balloting. So that means there are people who believe that what Sabonis is doing is spectacular. We go out every single night, and you can't take it for granted. He's 18, 12, and 8 every single night.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is a Hall of Fame player. He's getting to that point where we're entering that discussion. And you got one or two guys out there way on the peripheral on the East Coast that are like saying he's not. Move on. Like, again, don't feed the beast. Don't read his stuff. If you don't.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, and I would tell Kings fans, so like, don't give him the page views because that's what he wants. Same thing with Steven Ruiz. He wants you to come back every week where he still has Tom Brady above Brock Purdy, even though Tom Brady doesn't play football anymore. I mean, he still
Someone in the chat had a great idea where we should do a contest where you can enter if you aren't following Kevin O'Connor or Zach Harper.
No,
As long as you're not following them, you can enter to
win
win
a hoodie.
Zach
Yeah,
is
you
an
win a
interesting thing as well.
No, he sucks too.
I've been friends
Is that
with
your
Zach
boy?
for a long time.
Oh, that's your boy.
Well, you have to
tell
remember,
your boy. Text him. Call him right now. FaceTime him. Put him up here. Say, hey, you suck, and then hang up on him.
I mean, Zach.
Get him on happy hour.
Zach is who handed.
I'm a premium subscriber.
That's right. Zach is who handed cowbell to me. He had to move to Minnesota because he had a girl in Minnesota and he left Sacramento.
I find that hard to believe.
Yeah. Just bitter and angry.
Dude, damn near worse than Kevin
O'Collins.
Kevin O'Collins.
I don't know nothing. I don't know nothing
damn
about.
Near as bad.
I don't know nothing about Kevin O'Collins or Bryce Harper's basketball takes. I don't know nothing about that.
Yeah. Well, I love it. I mean, I think it adds to the general discussion. I gotta
be honest, I can't even remember why I'm mad at Zach Harper. Oh, the defense stuff. Oh, that was just trash. that was actually worse than Kevin O'Connor.
Yeah.
That was way worse.
Yeah.
Then you're talking about, Davion Mitchell doesn't play. Harrison Barnes is their best defender. Bro, what the hell are you watching?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what? FaceTime him. Come on, do it.
And then call Bontemps.
Yeah.
I was texting on Bontemps the other day.
We settling all family business today. Bontemps ain't pissed me off in a while.
When we come back, we'll have the hate list when we come back.
Oh, yeah.
Next week or 2 weeks from now.
We'll start the new year off on a negative foot. Who's at the top right now? Who's number one?
O'Collins.
Over Harper?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, all right.
He done definitely moved up the rankings.
The Insiders next week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We're off from both stations. We'll be back with you. Regular programming beginning on January 2nd. Thank you guys for the amazing support this year. Thank you for the support on the YouTube channel, on the radio, on the Odyssey app, on Twitch, wherever you watch, wherever you listen, man. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for your support of the Insiders. It was a really amazing year here on ESPN 1320, and it was amazing that D'Lo and Casey got to add an afternoon show because we aren't done. We're going to head over to 102.5 right now and close out our year over there. We appreciate you so much for being with us. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We'll see you back here with the Insiders on Wednesday, beginning at 10 a.m. here on ESPN 1320.
Vamos Kings, light the beam. Happy holiday.